Um, I just finished watching the Tomorrow War. Watched it with Lou, Cattaruzza, Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. For me, the movie brings up it's my reality and what's going on in losing people throughout space and time and getting strung quantumly with the wrong crew, purposely or otherwise, by the humans. They're absolutely disgusting. So I've been stuck, which we call marooned, here for 43 years in this state of NY, which is New York. Movie theater critics or criteria, they write about New York in a hyper theory of Gotham. They've used that, Gotham. They've wrote of New York as the Empire State for other reasons at the business office, for funding and so on and so forth, legislation. Now, in this movie, they mentioned something about. Now, I have a pine box, Pinebox. I keep Chris Pratt and Chris Pine in the pine box of really nice looking ancestors that made it to the silver screen. I don't follow them. I'm not a creepy stalker cousin. I just, when they make a movie I've seen or a cameo within my visual cortex for whatever I'm up to, I'll mention it. So anyway, I noticed really handsome Pratt which actually they took the name Pratt and they used it on, I think, ER and gave it to a really dark-skinned doctor. I was not happy about that. I fought on my end over that. I'm like, you don't understand. You keep taking my special project names and painting them and confusing the fuck out of the theater, the production company, the executive directors, the executive producers, and all the dumb fucking useless management that doesn't know what the fuck to think anymore and how to split the one pie. With newcomers now who think that they're entitled to something because they contributed. No, no, you didn't. You contributed to making this so much more painful and fucking worse. It's like, So my Rolodex of names and faces that I would recognize as a human with these eyeballs is slim. Anyway, so Pratt did me a favor, White Pratt, might I add, for the rest of this conversation, because he's the one referenced in the movie, Chris Pratt, of the Tomorrow War. It's on Amazon Prime. I'm taking the entire branding because it goes to Ryan Seahunt, which is Sear Hunt, because he's got a relationship with his daughter that looks similar to what I would think is in the movie. I don't share that with Lewis. Lewis is the broken unit. Okay, so here's my relation to Lewis. In the movie, there's a dark-skinned guy who gets to training day, or like unloading this dumb fucking useless humans that are like needed to save the past but brought to the future. Okay, so there's this one guy who's looking at a guy with a chef's hat and he's just like that's Lewis. I would be the quiet veteran 3 rows back with the bear claw, the dark skinned guy. It's a male and he's dark, doesn't matter. He was quiet and he was observing what and sizing up what he could rely on in the room, because his own survival required the rest of the room to either be successful or what would be wiped out first. Right, so that's the position I took in that scale, and the father that you assigned me to or scripted me with in this disgusting Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, where my born identity was Nicole Cattaruzza, star 1978, star A378. The guy, born identity 1949, January 30th, 1949, and the chick, Linda, the foxhole I fell out of. She, again, more broken units, in a broken storyline lineage. So now, so with the jumping time travel, right, got that. My only theoretical question on the movie would be, so if the white strike was in the sacks and those were the cure for the human disease, not being that all the humans had to be wiped out completely, but just that they had to go back through a reset and a rebalancing and shifting of power back to what's necessary. Why would you want to denature their proteins completely and totally eradicate the one nucleic acid that makes a difference amongst all of the amino acids in like a transponder kind of a way? If your telomere technically in a mitosis meiosis kind of a way is your like filter for what's going to set in the cell and then send out spindles and electronically or by electrolysis copy and clone a cell and then have its transcriptase already set there by what's being sent to and received by the telomere in a stem cell kind of a way. So that's my actual question, because I know that they always go for the alien life form, and I even said to Lou, I'm like, listen, Lou, I was like, he's like, do you believe in alien life? But like, he's at such a linguistical basic level, it's hard to even connect and speak to him. I'm like, what is your idea of alien, Lou? I was like, because it's a lean, and currently your rent's due. You're on something called borrowed time. Ever hear that? I was like, yeah, it all theoretically weaves and looms together. I was like, but yet you keep putting these words out, Lou, like regurgitating the stupid shit that the dumb fucking useless fed you at some point, and it hangs and looms its way in the air, and it writes viral code to the environment and resets the matrix in the wrong position, like a kaleidoscope piece that's just constantly getting hammered by your mouth and what comes out of it. It's really fucking gross and annoying. So that's my dad-daughter relationship of I just want the handsome man I belong to and was built for. I really don't need this stupid subscript of dumb fucking and useless. Alright, so now here's the thing. In flight and aviation, if you take off those propellers and you put on those gigantic large turbines, is that still where they then have to move to some crystallized fuel cell form in flat mats that are a different chemical compound? Because you can't have liquid fuel just sloshing around. It kind of hurts the aircraft when it takes off. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's much of a secret in this day and age of Zozy 2021. But that brings me to, they mention Russia and all of the ice in the movie. And again, it's fuel cell, it's the crystal fuel cells. There's fuel of energy forms that humans haven't even discovered or can't put theoretical, hypothetical, or any kind of transcriptase to, that are frozen and locked in the cells. And as the cells, and as the world, this position heats up, it melts the ice and it unlocks crystallized fuel cells that cause an anomaly, and sometimes it's a tremor, it's a vibration, sometimes it's big huge explosions which cause fissures and cavernous. I mean, like, you are really messing up the machine that keeps the ice and the water in balance of heat to cold ratio, on top of which the to monocron because you keep doing all this wormhole shit and then weaving in different anatomy and bringing in new special projects. And then you have one set lineage with one white strike and one chance at a cure to fix time and space because you keep opening up these theoretical hypothesis windows with these dumb fucking useless kids. I'm like, I swear to God, you take them, you send them to the future, you set them up to fail. I was like, if they survive that actual, then they'll be worth taking back to the time I'm living in and trapped in. I don't think anybody survives because they weren't prepared or set up for time travel when I arrived. So now I've got, let's think about this. My kids time traveled. I mean, I got Alexander and I've got Henri, or Eric, let's call him at the moment. I don't know what name Alexander gave me. I can't remember. I don't even think he gave me a name. Maybe he gave me, right, the proper dad's name. But I can't remember for sure, so I'm not even going to state it for the record. Let's think about this. So in Russia, where hypothetically between Iber to Siberia, there's like a gigantic ice shelf, or there was an Arctic tundra. At some point when I arrived in this born identity thread, I'm now getting shocks in this side of the world, of the sphere, within this time zone frame. And I do not know what's going on over there because I don't ever get honest update. I mean, you see samples of what they tell a vision and pump into this shithole, being Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, the state of New York, in this USA. It's USA, and I'm Utsa, U-Z-Z-A. And while Lewis and I were watching the Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime downstairs in his apartment, which is the last time I saw Nicolaus, he left me in that apartment, but before it was renovated. It had a red kitchen at that time. More dungeon-like is what it looked like. It looked whatever. So there was a helicopter, FAA regulated, I suppose, helicopter. That's what the humans say that regulates helicopters and flight patterns around here. So there was a helicopter that flew overhead. I was like, Lewis, do you hear that? And he's like, yeah, maybe they're coming for you. And I'm like, oh, Lewis, you really think so? I was like, I would be so lucky if I was chosen to go somewhere special and leave this hellhole. And he's like, you really believe that? And I'm like, do you see what I do on a daily basis, Lou? And so, like, I kind of talked through our father Lewis moment, or our mother Lewis moment, daughter Lewis moment. And I'm like, as we go through time and space, what I know to be certain, he goes, how do you know that? And I go, because I'm like, listen, I've been a faceless energy creature that can traverse space and time without proboscis, and it's called a Prometheus. I was like, my Prometheus is some form of alien life form. It takes several different natures. Not all of it is human. But when you enter a human realm and the creature calls itself, or you give a before entry, you're set up with humans surrounding you, and that's what the creature comfort culture is called, humanity. Then they generally come with a olfactory proboscis, some kind of orifice, and then they come with some, is this the Oricchio or is this the Oricchio? I can't remember, but there's some kind of like camera system and audio system that they use in moving and energizing around in like a moving virus project of not everything is signaling and transponding the same based on whether they're set up with lipid protein receptors or if they're a protein amino acid receptors or if they're at lipid receptors for their transponding unit as it tools around in this POV. I'm just POW, MIA. So now, and so he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, but you record and you designate different things when you don't have the features of the human on. You just have different signatures. You're able to communicate in a different way. But it's just a temporary holding tank. It's a different type of temple mount that your consciousness in this one project that you were sent in moves into a different graded field. I was like, but it's the same energy. It's supposed to be the same energy signature, but there's a lot of complicated components that go into time and space movement placement, and then like the origami and structure of safety procedures and so on and so forth. And he was just sitting there. He was just like, huh. And I'm just like, I don't know. I know you're not like me. I mean, I know you're not wired like me. I know you're not hardwired, softwired. You're not a flagship. You're just a human, and you're in a corrupted seat at the moment. I don't really find anything out of your linguistical prowess or syllabus to be useful. It usually hangs, looms, and weaves the matrix into a more viral, derelict position based on your proximity to where I am in lineage and physicality at the moment. But again, like, he, like, comes in and out of, like, transpondency where, like, it's like pinging a tower with words. And, like, sometimes he gets it, and then sometimes it's, like, in one ear, out the other, which is all fine. It's just a product of his humanness in this broken confectionery infection unit that I'm in open exposure in hazmat conditions. I mean, toxins filling the air, bodies riddled with cancer all over the place, and my white strike, my white Prometheus in humanity seems to be the only one in the neighborhood, or one of very few. So I'm going at this alone. Star 1978, star 8378. It's August 28th, 2021. And it's Nicole Cattaruzza. NICOLECATTARUZZA.